Welcome everybody. It's your boy Pocket Full of Dinero Beats. This is current events, wild gaming. Stream about to start soon. Hopefully everybody can hear me clearly. Hopefully everybody's doing good. Hit the like button on your way in and grab your popcorn. About to go over some topics. Was J. Edgar Hoover black? Some AI and chat GPT stuff and other stuff if we get to it. So flat earth versus space and whatnot. So y'all stay tuned. Stream starting soon. Yo, 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 yo.
Universal language, dinero.
Win. Perfect.
Hello. Hello.
All right, y'all. We about to start. All right, y'all. We about to start with the J. Edgar Hoover video. This lady claims that she related to him. I caught some of the video, but I heard from multiple people before and read before that he might have been black, so or passing as black. So we're gonna watch this video, y'all, and give our get your thoughts in the comments. I'm gonna give you mine because I already kind of believe it. So I don't know. We're gonna check it out. Again, hit that like and subscribe button for more, and I greatly appreciate it. Let's start the video. And by the way, I'm playing Left 4 Dead.
One of the most disliked white men in the black community allegedly was black. One of the most disliked white men in the black community allegedly was black himself. That rumor doesn't surprise those who observe some of those blacks who
Fair
pass over
use, fair
and
use.
become white bigots to cover their tracks, or perhaps they just suffer from self-hatred. But it sent Millie McGee back to her family tree in Macomb, Mississippi, to see if the man.
And that's the thing with people, like it be your own people that'll turn on you or become an agent or something like that. Because the fear, I don't know if I could say that on here, but y'all know who I'm talking about. That dude with the A and the D. Yeah, you fill in the rest. That guy was one of those people, and he turned on his own people allegedly on that. So all right, y'all, we're gonna keep.
Man who became synonymous with the FBI and hatred of Martin Luther King Jr. was himself her cousin, who had gone through the special Underground Railroad built from the South to Washington, D.C. for blacks who looked white enough to live.
Look at that man, y'all. Do we favor somebody that could be mixed or have something in his blood? Could be related ancestrally. Y'all tell me. Y'all do y'all own. You tell me. I already know how I feel about it. Could I be swayed? Maybe, but I don't know. It is what it is. Let's continue with the video.
And I said passing for white because there's a question mark. Why the title Passing for White question mark?
Because when I first started writing the book, I did not realize that J. Edgar Hoover was
If you having a hard time seeing or anything, her name is Millie McGee, author of Secrets Uncovered about J. Edgar Hoover. Let's continue.
Actually in my lineage, and I was told it was rumors in the family that he
Sorry
was,
for the
and
feedback
just
on my
rumors.
mic.
So I knew that I had to put question mark until I did some research and made out for sure that he was a part of the family.
Now, this is a pretty serious charge, and not because there's anything wrong with being black, but because of the other implications. Do you feel comfortable making this charge that J. Edgar Hoover, are you saying in effect he was black? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying, in fact, that I'm a black woman and he is in my family lineage. He is a part of my family. I don't necessarily like it. I didn't even know it when I started it. But when I found it out, I was looking for my great-great-grandmother, who is Emily Allen, who had babies by his ancestors. And after doing my research, after 2.5 years of research, I have, without a shadow of a doubt, in my heart and the documents, showing that he is a part of our lineage. Now, to say that he's passing for white or he is black, I personally wouldn't say that. I would say that he has black blood in his veins.
What does that make him to you in terms of relative?
So what does that mean to y'all? If people say Obama is black enough and he got the one drop rule, can't that apply to this man? I don't know. You tell me.
My grandfather, my mother's father, is his second cousin.
And that makes him what to you?
That makes him my fourth cousin.
Fourth.
Married a black woman, a mulatto woman, and my grandfather himself married a Choctaw Indian, which that's what I am, an Indian, and black. Even the white people are proud of the book, the ones that I've spoken to, and they agree with me that my grandmother, well, that's how I closed all the research, by getting documents from them, because we have to keep in mind that black history, handed down oral history, is not documented history. And 2.5 years of research looking for oral history, I won't find it. So after doing
I mean, in a sense, is and that's the thing with history in general. That's why I want to create this show right here that I'm doing to be something bigger, because history and these videos and documents of people telling us something different than the textbooks told us, and that and certain information does need to be out there and contested and watched and stuff, and debated about. If we're going to debate about sports and politics and who's wearing the Gucci shirt versus who's wearing the fake Gucci shirt, why can't we talk about certain things in history that we think is a fact and it might not be a fact?
some radio announcements about what I had found in the pedigree chart, and from word of mouth and from rumors, one of the Hoovers, a couple of the Hoover family members heard it, and they had also been doing research of their own and trying to find out themselves, how did J. Edgar Hoover actually belong to the white side of the family? And they couldn't understand it. They could find all of the birth certificates of everybody else in their family, but they couldn't find J. Edgar Hoover.
Now, the people you're saying are these white people who are
white
Hoovers?
These are the white Hoovers.
Well, why would white Hoovers be interested in whether or not J. Edgar Hoover was black or white? What's their motive?
I would think because of the way they were treated by J. Edgar Hoover when he was alive, and the family have wondered why they were treated the way they were treated.
How were they treated by him?
Well, pretty bad, where they weren't really considered a family member to them. They were disinherited in his will. He had nieces and nephews, and he disinherited them. And it's not that I believe they wanted money from him. They just wanted to know why he would attach himself and then be so cold-hearted and treat them so distant, The information that I found, a picture that he put in his biography saying that it was him. And it wasn't. It was one of the white Hoover boys. Well, I wouldn't say he was actually white, because it seems like, according to the research, he was mulatto too. I wasn't doing research to find out and discover and say that he was also a black man.
Now, this is his brother.
This is the one that he called his brother.
Now, this is his picture, which is in the Hoover room at the Masonic Shrine,
right,
in Washington, D.C.
Exactly.
And when you go into the Masonic Shrine, there is a man and a woman identified as J. Edgar Hoover's parents with a little boy.
Exactly.
For years, this little boy was identified as J. Edgar Hoover.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I believe he's identified as Davidson Hoover.
He's identified
who is J. Edgar Hoover's brother.
Yes, Dickerson.
Dickerson.
Dickerson was 15 years older than J. Edgar Hoover.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the picture, you look very close at the picture in my book, the paper on that picture shows that it was much older than J. Edgar Hoover. It was made before, but he said that that's when he was 5 years old. And he has a picture of him when he was 4 years old. And you look at them, you can see that it's two different faces.
There was a picture that is still in the Masonic Shrine in Washington, D.C.
Right.
That for years, in the identification on the picture, it identified it as J. Edgar Hoover, the little boy.
That's right.
At one point in time, at the Masonic Shrine,
Let me know how y'all feel about this. Watch it on the playback. Cause I don't know, to keep it real, bro. I kind of believe her in a sense. She might be capping in some ways about it, but I don't know. Y'all let me know.
they changed that identification to Dickerson Hoover rather than J. Edgar Hoover.
Exactly.
So something had to happen that made the officials at the Masonic Shrine change the identification of that little boy's picture. For years, in the black community, it has been a widespread rumor during J. Edgar Hoover's life that he was a black who was passing for white.
Exactly.
This does not mean that's true. This means that it is true that there has been, for decades, during his life, even among whites, even at the FBI, and according to your book, even Hoover was aware there were rumors that he was a mulatto. And you quote a very famous white man here who we will not name, who grew up in Washington, D.C. at the same time, who you quote as saying that he also heard the rumor and that it was believed among the whites in his community, in his circle, that J. Edgar Hoover was passing for white.
The document that I found in research in the library of his birth certificate being forged is where in Washington, D.C., the mother and father list their names and they list a number to go find the child's birth certificate. Someone went into the file and wrote in handwritten his name and wrote a code WM, white
Wait,
male.
hold on.
And all the other parents on that list never listed
That sounds like some fraud stuff. Let's run that back, y'all. Hold on.
Send up a red flag to me.
You said wrote in his name.
Wrote in J. Edgar Hoover's name under his parents. That's the only baby that was written in on that whole page.
Y'all hear what she's saying, though? It's some possible baby fraud or something that was going on his birth certificate. Could be cap. It could be a great possibility it happened. Let's hear it again.
On that list never list a child's name or whether it was white or black, which send up a red flag to me.
You said wrote in his name.
Wrote in J. Edgar Hoover's name under his parents. That's the only baby that was written in on that whole page, which sent a
The rest of it was typed.
They were all handwritten. Everybody's name was handwritten. The parents would go in and log your name, and you would log. Then this clerk would log a number that you go to, and then you pull the records and you look for the child's name and gender and that. But on this record, someone went in and actually wrote J. Edgar Hoover, his date of birth, and a code WM, which didn't make sense to me. Who cares? I mean, nobody else in that whole page did that on hardly anything.
In other words, no other baby on that page was identified by race, but J. Edgar
Or
Hoover.
name.
Or name.
Or name.
And they all had a code number that you went to.
That's right.
But in his case, there was not only a name, there was also WM designating him as a white male.
Exactly.
And that sent up a red flag. It made you suspect something, right?
Right. And then when I got the anonymous package from the family, I read and looked into it and found documents showing that my grandmother was owned by his relatives. And then the birth certificate finally came, and I noticed that in order for him to get a birth certificate, he had to take his brother, who was in that picture, Dickerson, with him all around Washington, D.C. to different churches to get him to do a statement and have it notarized saying that he saw him being born in the house. He was 15 years old, and he saw J. Edgar Hoover being born by his mother.
Now, which of J. Edgar Hoover's parents allegedly is of an African ancestry? The mother or the father?
It would be allegedly the father would be the mulatto. But I understand through my research, the mother was mulatto too.
When you started the research in Mississippi, you say that the White Hoover family, some of them anyway, were very much in tune to what you were doing, and they wanted to help you in your research. What did you find out? What is the lineage? What is the line in your family that gets us, that connects your family to the Hoovers, to the white part of your background?
My great-great-grandmother, Emily.
Y'all heard that? She said it might have been the dad that was probably mulatto. So we don't know. We just listening. She got a book on it. We all should go read. I might look it up one of these days, but definitely check this out, y'all, when y'all get a chance. Next video we gonna go here. Dudes, first we gonna talk about wormholes with Brian Cox, a physicist on the Joe Rogan. He was a guest on the Joe Rogan channel a couple years ago. I'm familiar with him from the Science Channel, and he's pretty good. He's pretty fire, so I think y'all might enjoy just hear him out. And then we're gonna flip that video with a flat earth realm shit, bro. So y'all hit the like button, subscribe for more. We gonna keep doing this.
Then you can have the film about something else.
Yes.
Because it's not really about that.
Well, did you like Event Horizon?
Yeah, I did actually. I thought that was
fun,
quite
right?
a cool film. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I haven't seen it for
fun.
years.
I always wanted to ask about their concept of propulsion. That you would almost like space would be flat, you would fold space over, and you would intersect those 2 points, and you would be able to travel vast distances instantaneously, right? I'm doing a terrible job of explaining it.
Fair use, y'all.
Is that a concept that people have actually considered?
Yeah, you can in general relativity. So Einstein's, I should say what it is. Einstein's theory of general relativity is our best theory of space and time. And so it really is, as we talked about before, is you imagine space and time as a sheet. Just imagine it as a thing, sort of literally.
Like a fabric of time. Einstein, that's a lot of things. He describes space as blanket in time.
A sheet, surface. And all the theory says is that if you put matter and or energy into
blanket of space and
it
time,
curves it and distorts it, and it can stretch it and make it shrink. And so it's the response of space and time to matter and energy. So if you the simplest version will be the sun. So you put a big spherical ball of stuff in there, and it warps space and time such that the nice straight lines, something just traveling, minding its own business through that warp space, turns into an orbit.
And that's why you can actually kind of see things that are behind the sun?
Yeah.
Okay.
So light bends around the sun because it's just traveling through the curved space. The Earth goes round the sun because it's just rolling, minding its own business through the curved space. So An example would be, you might say, well, how does curved space, can that give rise to something that looks like a force, which is gravity? So the best analogy I know of is to think of walking around on the surface of the Earth. So if you stand on the equator of the Earth, and you with your friend, and you say, we're going to walk due north, so we're going to set off, let's say we're 1,000 miles apart on the equator, and we're going to walk due north. What's going to happen? So you walk in straight lines, you don't change direction, you don't do any accelerating, but the straight lines are the lines of longitude on the surface of the Earth. So as you go further and further north, you get closer and closer together. And if you carry on to the pole, you bump into each other. But nothing's happened. There's no forces acting. It's just that you're moving on a curved surface, and so you get closer. And that's basically Einstein's theory of general relativity. Now, why did I start talking about that?
Event horizon, the idea of folding.
Oh yeah. So all you have to do to those folded kind of geometries is you have to try and specify where you would put the matter and what kind of stuff you'd put there to make the geometry fold in that way. And you can do it. So you can write down that geometry. It's called a warp drive geometry, I think it's called. It's in textbooks. So you can do that to have a warp drive. The question becomes, what sort of stuff
Like Star
would you have
Trek.
to actually put into the real universe to make it warp in that way? And it usually turns out that it's the kind of stuff that doesn't exist, right? But it has properties. It's sort of matter or sort of energy.
Or does it though? That's what trips me out, because they be BSing about a lot of technologies that they done found either on Earth, either they made, man made. You know what I'm saying? It's just some stuff to think about, y'all.
That has properties that do not exist in nature as far as we can tell. But you can still write the geometry down in Einstein's theory.
So if you had the significant force or mass or whatever it is, if you had that stuff that doesn't exist, it is a concept that.
Yeah. So the geometry exists. So you can do it, and you can do the calculations, and you can see the warp drive. You can construct wormholes that connect distant regions of the universe, which you could use as time machines. You can do all that in the theory, but in nature, you'd have to have the right stuff to do it.
But that stuff is not real.
That seems to be
as far as we know.
Yeah.
Now,
make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it.
Power or mass to be able to fold those two things together?
It tends to be weird stuff, like stuff that has a negative pressure or something like that. So stuff that has physical properties that are just bizarre, and that no matter or energy that we know of in the universe has. So that to make the geometry happen.
But it's conceivable in theory that this could exist, even though it doesn't.
It's a debate ultimately. So wormholes are a good example. So that would be quite literally. We talked about the surface of the Earth. So you fly to Australia from LA, and you have to go quite a long way around this edge of the Earth, or you could tunnel straight through and get there quicker, right? So you can. That's a wormhole.
Jamie's got a little graphic up there.
There it is. There's a wormhole. So you could go all the way around the edge, or you could take the shortcut. So the question is, so you can do that in Einstein's theory. You can write down that geometry, and there it is. So the first question is, can you make it? And as we said, we don't think that stuff exists.
Right.
There's a second set of bits of theoretical work, which are, if you had a wormhole, then what would happen if you tried to travel through it? And what seems to happen is that they become unstable the moment that anything tries to go through. So you get kind of a feedback of stuff going through and through and through and through, and so it collapses. And there's a great book by Kip Thorne, actually. We just mentioned him. He got the Nobel Prize last year for the gravitational waves, and he wrote a brilliant book, I think it's in the 80s, called Black Holes and Time Warps, where he talks about the answer is we don't fully know, but most physicists think that even if they existed, they would be unstable. And as soon as you even try to transmit information through them, send a bit of light through, then there would be this sort of feedback and they'd collapse. And ultimately, the reason we don't really know
And if you think about it though, like when they do say they get a message from space, it could have been a billion years ago before our time or something. So we was the ones able to receive that or something. But then you talking about wormholes. If we ain't cutting down the time, can waves get through the wormholes? Signals, if we able to like distort our own wormhole with a spaceship or a device to get to a alleged galaxy quicker. I don't know, y'all. We gonna see what the spaceman can do, but they ain't telling us the whole thing that they got. They probably like Independence Day now, or a little bit more advanced or something. Um, next video we gonna I guess the lore this video, the lore beyond the ice walls. Check that out a little bit. So here we go.
Is the objective. Alright. Are all pretty interesting things, you know? So, nothing very weird about that. But then, yeah, I kind of like looking
Make
at
sure y'all
other
hit that
Holton
like button on
histories
the
to get
playback.
kind
I
of
greatly
inspiration for
appreciate
mine
it.
own. And for some reason, I was just scrolling the server that was talking about these things. Are we actually even live, bro? What? Let's mute the volume. Seem to stand in an unconquerable barrier that forbid mankind from going any further. Yet, as they approached, Magellan and his crew felt an inexplicable compulsion to keep going. Even when an ominous color began to churn in the sky, when the frozen scene began to froth and boil, and the moon lost its light, their urge to pursue the adventure only intensified. This compulsion grew into madness, as the sailors were gripped by the great and terrible versions of their mind, and were not equipped and to comprehend. And the mighty glaciers began to crumble before them. Somehow, a fraction of the crew survived for an unknown period of time, for which they were unconscious or unwilling to recall. The seas and their minds had calmed, and they found that a large portion of the glacial barrier had opened to reveal mossy coastal landscapes, bookending a vast stretch of open ocean, continuing past on the southern horizon. What one was a wall now was a gate, and the sailors would return to Iberia with the sense that their unprecedented globe-spanning voyage was just the first step of a much greater journey. So for now, I'll just stop here. So, what is this? Once again, what am I talking about? What is going on? Alright, let me first just check up the, live and stuff, so I get everything right, and just add everyone for, no reason. So, what am I talking about? So this is the start of the lore. Where we at? I think we are, at Magellan exploration, we're in the 16th and 15th centuries. So we're in Spain, we're going on an expedition, going here, in the Straits of Magellan, and for some reason, Magellan goes not here, but he goes, I believe, here. And the walls of
Magellan the Explorer, they named the GPS after this guy. I forget where he's from, but it's that guy.
Ice, which would be Antarctica, of course, literally disappear, alright? And they are encountered, they encounter what appears to be, and I'll read this, alright? With Magellan nowhere to be found, Juan Sebastian Elcano led to the remaining ships back to the Old World, finding unrest and upheaval everywhere they went. South of the equator, they found Old War, finding unrest and upheaval everywhere. They found coastal villages ravaged by tsunamis and storms, the destitute people stricken with apocalyptic terror, with many perceiving the Black Moon as an omen of the end of the days. As they moved north, they found less destruction, but just as much unrest. The moon had remained pitch black ever since the wall of ice had opened, a nightly reminder to the peoples of every land that something about their world had changed. The explorers kept what they witnessed as closely regarded secret, only telling the tale once they had direct audience with the King of Spain. Each man recalled what he saw while approaching the ice wall differently. Each of the visions were unique, mostly incoherent and contradictory, but there was a single common element every man could describe in pristine detail. A tall, ethereal woman whose skin was dark as cavernous abyss, but at the same time glowing with some otherworldly energy, standing atop of the glacial wall, staring them down with closed eyes. Without speaking, she called out to them, beckoning them to come closer, to join her atop of the wall, and peer over the other side to see what lays beyond. And I'm just gonna put up the actual picture of the woman, since the artist that made this story actually drew her, so this is her, apparently. I assume, actually, I am not really like sure 100%, but I think that's her. So you already know this stuff is weird, like there's no going back, right? It's already been pretty weird so far. Dream of the Atlas. For decades, the moon remained an empty black void. The long dark nights passed around to the known world with millions of restless minds consumed by speculation and a desire for answers. In every society, scholars, philosophers, and holy men would struggle to interpret the sign from the heavens and ease the worries of the masses. In Punjab, the followers of Guru Nanak Dev were particularly emboldened by this cosmic spectacle. Whether it be a sign of change or a sign of doom, it was the duty of the Sikhs to spread the truth of the faith to the confused and divided peoples of their land, and together proceed on a new spiritual path in peace and unity. With local Sunni and Hindu authorities struggling to reach a consensus in regards to Black Moon event, many of their followers turned to the Guru for answers, and their Sikh faith blossomed all across the Indus Basin. So apparently, for some reason, this thing, the thing that happens, the end of the ice wall, actually helps the Hindus, actually spread. So interesting. Following the initial confusion regarding
He talking about the Indy Mountains, right?
the Black Moon, the story of Magellan's fateful expedition creeped its way across the old world. Some told the story of a group of intrepid explorers called into action by a mighty emperor, who for the first time rounded the entire world, a great feat of navigation that would be regarded with the promise of endless new discoveries, and riches to be found beyond the great barriers of the south. Some told the story of a brutish sailors from a godless kingdom, who searched the world over unknown lands and peoples to conquer, plunder, and spread their heathen faith. Their hubris carrying them to the furthest reaches of the world, where they met God's wrath and caused divine punishment to rain down over all mankind. Some stories of an is the objective. Alright, men could describe in pristine while approaching the ice wall differently. Each of the visions were unique, mostly incoherent and contradictory, but there was a single common element every man could describe in pristine detail. A tall, ethereal woman whose skin was dark as cavernous abyss, but at the same time glowing with some otherworldly energy, standing atop of the glacial wall, staring them down with closed eyes. Without speaking, she called out to them, beckoning them to come closer, to join her atop of the wall, and peer over the other side to see what lays beyond. And I'm just gonna put up the actual picture of the woman, since the artist that made this story actually drew her, so this is her, apparently. I assume, actually, I am not really like sure 100%, but I think that's her. So you already know this stuff is weird, like there's no going back, right? It's already been pretty weird so far. Dream of the Atlas. For decades, the moon remained an empty black void. The long dark nights passed around to the known world with millions of restless minds consumed by speculation and a desire for answers. In every society, scholars, philosophers, and holy men would struggle to interpret the sign from the heavens and ease the worries of the masses. In Punjab, the followers of Guru Nanak Dev were particularly emboldened by this cosmic spectacle. Whether it be a sign of change or a sign of doom, it was the duty of the Sikhs to spread the truth of the faith to the confused and divided peoples of their land, and together proceed on a new spiritual path in peace and unity. With local Sunni and Hindu authorities struggling to reach a consensus in regards to Black Moon event, many of their followers turned to the Guru for answers, and their Sikh faith blossomed all across the Indian.
If you just tuning in or skipping through, they talking about the gates or the ice wall gates. I guess that goes to the other realms and whatnot of the flat earth.
In this basin. So apparently, for some reason, this thing, the thing that happens, the end of the ice wall, actually helps the Hindus, actually spread. So interesting. Following the initial confusion regarding the Black Moon, the story of Magellan's fateful expedition crept its way across the old world. Some told the story of a group of intrepid explorers called into action by a mighty emperor, who for the first time rounded the entire world, a great feat of navigation that will be regarded with the promise of endless new discoveries, and riches to be found beyond the great barriers of the south. Some told the story of a British sailors from a godless kingdom, who searched the world over unknown lands and peoples to conquer, plunder, and spread their heathen faith. Their hubris carrying them to the furthest reaches of the world, where they met God's wrath and caused divine punishment to rain down over all mankind. Some stories of an adventurer who embarked on an epic quest to see all the world's wonders, and upon reaching the end of the realm of man, opened the door to an entirely new domain, from which all sorts of powerful spirits and dangerous beasts were sure to emerge. Some told of the story of a petty king in the backwaters of what was once Rome, and who wasted his meager wealth on a pointless expedition of...
Y'all go check that out. Maybe I'll leave the link in the description, but the video is called The World Beyond the Ice Walls. Before we go to chat GPT and AI, let's check this video out, y'all. Fair use, fair use. Fair use. Nah, I ain't even gonna play this video. Nah, I'll play something else. Let's watch this video. Let's react to this. Mind blowing, whatever.
Why
Let's
did
do
Schrödinger
this.
believe that there was only one mind in the universe?
Hit that like button,
Was
y'all.
Schrödinger right in his claim? Is the universe just a giant brain? Is every galaxy a neuron in a vast universal brain? Did consciousness become the universe and create itself? Can it be tested whether the universe is conscious? Is the universe a living organism? Is Earth alive? Is the universe fine-tuned for life and mind? Are we the universe becoming aware of itself? Let's delve into the answers to these questions with a comprehensive
I'm gonna slow it
scientific
down
perspective.
though for a second.
Let's delve into the
all
answers to
those
these questions
questions
with a comprehensive scientific perspective. In February of 1943, Erwin Schrödinger, a quantum physicist and Nobel laureate who shared his prize with Paul Dirac and Werner Heisenberg, delivered a series of lectures at Trinity College, Dublin. These lectures later formed the basis for his book titled What is Life? This publication had a profound impact on a generation of molecular biologists, including Francis Crick, one of the pioneers in the discovery of DNA. What's lesser known is that throughout his lifetime, Schrödinger maintained a strong interest in both Eastern and Western philosophy. Starting from the 1950s, when Schrödinger transitioned away from active engagement with contemporary physics, he increasingly delved into broader philosophical and ethical considerations related to scientific pursuits. During this period, his talks often concluded with a humorous reference to what he dubbed the second Schrödinger equation. Atman equals Brahman, a concept reflecting the Indian notion of identity. Schrödinger's concepts concerning the fundamental underpinnings of life have catalyzed innovative advancements in molecular biology. His musings on the themes of the mind and reality might serve as a catalyst for pioneering endeavors in comprehending the essence of consciousness and its interrelation with the realm of physics. In 1924,
I think you get his character on Civilization. Maybe a great artist or somebody that could visit your city on there.
just a few months before Schrödinger formulated the foundational equation of quantum mechanics, he sketched out initial concepts that he would subsequently expand upon in his work, Mind and Matter. At an early juncture, his exploration of technical aspects was driven by what he perceived as more profound, metaphysical, and even religious inquiries. From the outset, Schrödinger firmly held the belief that metaphysics isn't a consequence of physics. Instead, it naturally precedes it. Metaphysics isn't confined to deduction, but is inherently speculative in nature. One speculative presumption, unverifiable by empirical means, involves the existence of an external world independent of the mind. Another assumption pertains to the existence of distinct minds. Schrödinger asserted that empirical evidence for both these claims is unattainable, given the impossibility of stepping outside our personal experiences to validate them.
And a lot of philosophers and people like that say stuff like that. Great minds and people like that do say stuff like that, though. I ain't gonna lie.
Yet both assumptions
We
give
about to
rise
cut
to
it because
formidable
it keep
dilemmas.
playing music, so
The former introduces the challenge of
we gonna find another video, y'all.
Hey everyone. So
Fair
OpenAI have
use.
released a update to ChatGPT, which some are calling the death of 10,000 AI startups. We'll dig in to see if that's actually the case and take a look at a secret that's hidden in some code. We're also going to take a look at some big Claude news, with Google throwing $2 billion at Anthropic, which is a little bit weird considering that Google has Gemini coming out soon. Okay, let's dive in. So the big news, of course, is that ChatGPT has released an update that makes it truly multimodal. Currently, to do various tasks, you would have to open up separate chat threads. It does get pretty frustrating and obviously does break up a lot of concentration flow when you're sort of jumping back and forth between various chats. But this new update does solve all of that by allowing you to have Vision, Code Interpreter, DALL-E, and browsing with Bing all of
That means the AI scam game is gonna be crazy. Think about it. Look at that. Look at that stuff for me. Just look at it.
available within one chat. They're slowly rolling this update out to ChatGPT Plus users. I actually don't have it yet. I'm always like last to the party when it comes to ChatGPT updates. My invitation keeps getting lost in the mail. Now, one of the bigger touted features of this new update is that ChatGPT can now read PDFs, which does seem like a weird flex considering that we've been able to do it for a while now via third-party plugins. There have been a number of these. I think the most popular is AI PDF.
Right.
As we can see here, we can do PDF Reader, Aaron Chat PDF, Access PDF and Docs.
But it depends on how good
these various third-party plugins.
the update
Now, I will say
already
that
in the
there
software.
are a number of these, but 10,000 might be a bit of a stretch. But this does seem to be a pretty big step in ChatGPT becoming the thing that we have wanted it to be. Now, that said, there is a report from Josh Hendrickson over.
That means these fools could scam wills, documents with AI, make that shit look crazy, dog. Think about it, y'all. Think about it.
Over at PC Mag that claims after feeding ChatGPT a 20,000 word piece, it refused to look beyond the first 1,000 characters, which does sound kind of suspiciously low. That said, there are going to be some really cool and practical applications just by bringing browse and image generation together. For example, someone prompted the updated ChatGPT to search for data on the hurricane season of 2023 and create an infographic about it, and I mean, it did. And because it's connected to Bing, it will generate from live data, as Alex Volkov discovered when he prompted for an image that depicted the current weather conditions in Denver, Colorado. But of
By the way, that's fire, dog. That is fire. That's the background screen. Bing be having some crazy background screens. They stuff already look AI. The bird pictures and the backgrounds like that are pretty good, or like look like they're photographed and edited a little bit, but the horizon views and the sky views of certain things does look generated.
image that depicted the current weather conditions in Denver, Colorado. But of course, this is still DALL-E 3, and as good as it's gotten with spelling, it's not quite there yet. I mean, this is all happening on Wednesday. Yeah, it's going to be snowing that day. The biggest win for me is that all of this provides a way to give DALL-E 3 reference images, which is something we have not been able to do. Previous to this, the only way that you could really do this is to feed an image to ChatGPT and then ask it to describe that image and then feed that description back over into another chat that was running DALL-E 3. To be honest, that whole method was kind of a mess. It was sort of a pain, so this is an immediate improvement. And interestingly, via Tibor Blaho, there was apparently some JavaScript code that was embedded into the new ChatGPT that indicates another feature called Magic Create. No one's really sure exactly what Magic Create is, so just for fun, I grabbed the screenshot and took it over to ChatGPT to ask it, but of course it did not give up any goods whatsoever. I did have it speculate what it might be, and it ranged from automated responses to AI enhancement tools. Also, leading into our next story is a pretty interesting infographic that I ran across from Charter that shows you exactly how big OpenAI is at $86 billion. It is larger than all of those various.
Yeah, I remember that. Hopefully, it's not like Bitcoin and it's a finesse or a scam. Let's see.
Companies to the right of it. So with OpenAI at $86 billion, that does put some context into this story in which Google is apparently backing Anthropic, the creators of Claude, with $2 billion. And that's actually coming off of $1.5 billion.
$2 billion.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
$2 billion.
And one giant line for admission.
For exclusive technology, somebody gotta read them negotiations. Certain type of paperwork for that much gotta be public information, dog. Maybe a small fee to get, but certain contracts, when you exchanging that much money, they want to tax people for selling handbags on the street, for example. They want to tax them people, but dude, able just to come on, y'all. Certain shit don't go through the commission like that. It can't.
Claude with $2 billion. And that's actually coming off of $1.5 billion dropped to them by Amazon just a few weeks ago. Now, the interesting part here is that according to a pitch deck that was obtained by TechCrunch back in April, Anthropic have a 4-year, $5 billion plan to take on OpenAI. So it sounds like between Google and Amazon, Anthropic is pretty much there. Now, granted, this is a little shy of the $11 billion that Microsoft is paying out to OpenAI. Now, all of that money isn't like being dump trucked all at once, but rather is being doled out in the millions over the years. But it is interesting to see Google dropping some coin, considering that it has its own large language model, Gemini, set to release very soon. By all reports, Gemini is supposed to be pretty groundbreaking, but at the same time, no one's seen it. So is this a case of Google flinching, or is this a strategic move to try to hamper OpenAI with another rival? Kind of a enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of thing. And with
I don't know. Let me know how y'all feel, if y'all into that, into the chat GPT and the AI art and whatnot. Shoot, they'll probably mess around and make an AI game. They probably already got it, but we'll see. Let's see, maybe one more video before we head out. Let's see if I got one more for y'all.
Joe Rogan experience.
Let's watch this one and we out.
You were discussing Oumuamua.
Yes, that's the right.
Oumuamua, which is an object that we detected in space that you believe could possibly have been extraterrestrial in origin, meaning from some sort of a civilization.
Fair use.
Please explain to people what Oumuamua is, why it's so extraordinary, and why you think it's possible that it came from some other intelligent civilization.
They talking about Oumuamua.
I'm a scientist. And
an asteroid, something.
Like
it's something, bro. They don't know what it is.
Solutions. It's a detective story.
Because they going off of radar, certain stuff, the telescopes and certain things can't see until it becomes visible in space.
The thing about Oumuamua is that it was discovered on October 19th, 2017. A little more than 3 years. Normally, some things that don't quite match what you expected, and you're trying to find an explanation. And the thing about Oumuamua is that it was discovered on October 19th, 2017, a little more than 3 years ago. And it was the very first object that visited our vicinity in the solar system from outside the solar system. It moved too fast to be bound to the sun. Very first object that we have found coming to us from interstellar space, from other places. And at first, astronomers said, oh yeah, it's probably just like the objects we had in our solar system, all the rocks that we have seen before. We've seen comets and asteroids. So a comet is a rock that is covered with ice, water ice. So when it gets close to the sun, the surface gets warmed up and the ice turns into vapor, gas. And you see this beautiful cometary tail behind it. That's what a comet is. An asteroid is just rock without much ice on it. Actually, the first person to explain what comets are was at Harvard, the university that I am affiliated with. And the story goes that, I mean, it was Fred Whipple, that he went to Harvard Square and saw all the slush during a winter day, you know, and came up with the idea that it's just icy rock or icy rocks or, you know, rocky ice. And that's what a comet is. And the comets come to us from the periphery of the solar system. And, you know, astronomers said, okay, other stars may...
They coming out the cut where they least expect it. Because space is dark. Again, they going off of radars and certain telescopes and certain satellites. That's it.
Have them as well. And, you know, since they are loosely bound, if they are in the periphery, they can be easily ripped apart from their host star. And some of them will fly in our direction. We will see them. So they said Oumuamua is probably a comet. The only problem is there wasn't any cometary tail. So you look for a duck, but it doesn't look like a duck, you know. So then the question is, what is it? And so people said, okay, it's just a rock without any ice on it. Then the problem was that it exhibited an extra push away from the sun. And usually you get it from the rocket effect. That when you make the cometary tail, it pushes the object in the opposite direction, just like a jet plane. A jet plane works by throwing gas out, and that's pushing you forward. So a comet has an extra push when it evaporates. But there was no cometary tail, so why did it show an extra push? That was the key question in my mind, at which point I started thinking, maybe it's not a comet and not an asteroid, something else, you know. And the other strange thing about it, it changes its brightness by a factor of 10 or more. And the brightness of the object, the light that we see, is simply reflected sunlight. So just think about it. Think about a piece of paper, razor-thin piece of paper, tumbling in the wind, and changing the area that we can see, the projected area of that piece of paper, by a factor of 10 as we look at it. That's exactly what we inferred from this object, spinning around every 8 hours, but changing its brightness by a factor of 10, meaning that the area projected on the sky that we see, that reflects sunlight, changed by a factor of 10. So that means it has an extreme geometry. Most likely flat, if you try to interpret the light that it reflected over as it was tumbling around. And so a flat object, about the size of a football field, that has an extra push, if it were a comet, it needed to lose about 1/10 of its weight. So a lot of evaporation. You can't just say, oh, it's a little bit of evaporation, and therefore that's why we don't see it. It should have lost 1/10 of its weight. You know, if we go on a diet and lose 1/10 of our weight, that's a big chunk of mass, right? So this object didn't lose that because we didn't see it. And the Spitzer Space Telescope looked very deeply behind it to see if there are any traces of dust or gas. Didn't see anything. So then, you know, just like Sherlock Holmes, I was trying to think together with a postdoc of mine, Shmuel Bialy, what could explain it? And the only thing that came to mind is reflecting sunlight. So the object itself is being pushed by the sunlight reflecting off its surface. And, you know, that would agree with everything we know about the object, but in order for it to work, the object needs to be very thin, like a sail, you know, the sail on a boat. So a sail is pushed by a wind, but you can also push an object, a thin object, by light, and that is called the light sail. And we're actually using this technology now, developing it for space exploration. The big advantage is you don't need to carry.
See, remember earlier, one person said we couldn't develop wormholes, but these people making lightsabers, and they probably been making that even before Star Wars was coming out. Probably wasn't perfected like it is now, but hey, something to think about, y'all.
The fuel with the spacecraft, you just reflect light off it and it's being pushed.
There was a science fiction movie that did something like that. I think it was called Sunlight.
Quite possibly. I should mention an anecdote. In September, just a few months ago, in September 2020, there was another object that showed an extra push. No
His
cometary
name
tail.
is
And then astronomers
Avi
gave it a name
Lowe.
2020 SO. Okay, September 2020. And then they extrapolated back in time and found that it came from Earth, actually. And then they looked at the history books and saw that indeed there was a rocket booster from a lunar lander that was kicked into space, and this is the object. Now, why did it show this push? Because it's a very thin structure. So here is an example where we can tell it's artificial, and we know that we made it. But Oumuamua could not have been made by us because it was passing near us just for a few months, very quickly, faster than any rocket that we can launch. That's why we couldn't really chase it when it was receding away from us. And it came from outside the solar system. So, you know, I just do 1 + 1 = 2. I say, okay, it looks very peculiar. Maybe it belongs to another civilization. I just put it in a scientific paper. I didn't think, you know, we didn't have any press release. Then it went viral. The public got extremely interested. And the thing that really surprised me is that my colleagues were pushing back. They were very upset that this possibility was even mentioned. You know, we had a seminar, a lecture about this object at Harvard, and a colleague of mine, after the lecture, said, "This object is really weird. I wish it never existed." Now, to me, you know, that I was really appalled by this. How can you say something like that? You should be happy about whatever nature gives you. You know, you learn something new. If something doesn't look right, it actually teaches us, it's a learning experience. We learn that we have to
Hey, that's a fact, especially the older you get, if you get a chance to learn. Facts.
revise the way we think about reality. You know, that's a good thing. That's not a bad. You shouldn't always be in your comfort zone and think that the future will be the same as the past. So I actually
You
see
gotta
it as a
shake
blessing.
things up. Stuff gotta be different. That's just how it is.
Be upset that it exists. Like, I wish it didn't exist. That's kind of hilarious.
Because it takes you away from your comfort zone, you know?
I know, but it's, if you're studying the heavens, you're studying the cosmos, what is the ultimate thing that you could find? Another civilization or a piece of something from another civilization?
That's exactly my point. But if you go back in time, let me give you two examples. Galileo Galilei said, I think the Earth moves around the sun. But at the time, philosophers knew for sure that the sun moves around the Earth. You see it moving in the sky. It was consistent with their religious beliefs, everything. So they said, we don't want to look through your telescope to change our view. We will put you in house arrest. Now, what did they achieve by that? And by the way, I'm in house arrest, but it's because of the pandemic, not because. So what did they achieve by that? They maintained their ignorance, and the Earth continued to move around the sun. You know, reality is the one thing that never goes away, irrespective of whether you ignore it. You can ignore it. Now, there is another example. There is a student at Harvard, that as a result of my book on this subject that is about to come out in a week.
Again, if y'all want to check that out, that's Joe Rogan and Ivy Loeb. Y'all go check that out. He is scientist as well. Thank y'all for tuning in. Stay by after the show to hear some music. Y'all good people, have a blessed one. I greatly appreciate y'all for watching the playback. Hit the like button. And we gone.
Thank you for shopping at Walmart.
Pocket full of dinero beats. Pocket full of dinero beats.
pimp. You're a rest haven for hoes. You're a car thief. A car thief. The one you got out there is probably hot as a firecracker right now.
Pocket full of dinero beats.
Pocket full of dinero beats.
Pocket full of dinero beats.
I've been missing you in the morning all day. I've been missing you in the morning all day. When you leave, when you leave.
Thank you for shopping at Walmart.
Pocket full of dinero beats.